is promising to be the hub for the production of hydrocarbons and so on. You mentioned Nigeria, and predicted that there was going to be a substantial increase in the exploitation of oil and gas in West Africa. And therefore, the USA needed to turn its attention to West Africa. What does that mean? The oil doesn't belong to them, it belongs to us. They have decided that West Africa is the key to the resolution of their energy crisis, and that they needed to pay attention to West Africa. What does that mean? If you look at what has happened since then, their involvement in Ghana, they've established a logistic base in Ghana, what others refer to as a military base. They've signed an impunity agreement with Ghana, and so on. Now, they are seeking to establish 2 or 3 drone bases in West Africa. They are talking to Ghana, they are talking to Benin, and they are talking to La Côte d'Ivoire and so on. Now, that interest is not in the interest of the people of West Africa. And that interest, I submit, can only be pursued if West Africa is in the turmoil in which it is today. So this demand for ransom, kidnapping of school children and so on needs to be fitted into the whole West African security architecture and the role that hostile forces are promoting or pretending, to be playing in the resolution of this crisis and so on. And as a matter of fact, it's also important to note that ECOWAS is turning out to be a useless crop, of dictators, which is not focused on resolving the concrete problems that face the West African people and so on. So West African people need to realize that the current leadership cannot resolve their problems. West African peoples need to understand that we need to start building popular organizations rooted in the masses and which promotes solidarity across the entire region in order to bring about a new dispensation which enables us then to tackle issues such as Boko Haram, issues such as the problems in the Niger Delta area and so on. These governments we have today are incapable. They are clearly incapable. We need to work, to the future. So in discussing the kidnapping of school children in Nigeria and the ransom that they are demanding and so on, I want to expand the scope, to focus on the general liberation of West Africa from the clutches of neocolonialism, on a new West Africa under a new leadership of committed leaders who understand the foundations of their problems. Leaders, who will take inspiration from the resolutions of the Fifth Congress of the Pan-African Conference in Manchester in 1945. I mean, leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, leaders like Nnamdi Azikiwe, leaders like Sekou Touré and so on. Those are the kinds of leaders we need, not these guys parading as leaders of West Africa today. It's a shame.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. I think we're having a little challenge with the Facebook page, so we're streaming live on YouTube rather. So for those of you who may want to watch us online, you can do so via our YouTube channel, Pan-African Television. Go there, watch, and send us messages. You can also leave your WhatsApp messages to the WhatsApp number that will be projected on the screens very shortly, and we'll read the messages here. Next on the list, Alliance of Feminist CSOs blasts Agyeman King over comments against Prof. Jane Agyeman. The Alliance of Feminist Civil Society Organizations yesterday descended heavily on Member of Parliament for a Fiti constituency in the Central Region, Agyeman King, over his comments which sought to denigrate National Democratic Congress, the NDC's, where is it? Okay, got it. Vice presidential candidate in the 2024 elections, Professor Jane Agyeman. The group in a statement said, quote, is it not rather laughable that this dishonorable Agyeman King, who was strongly defending the achievement of a 80-year-old president, rather referred to a 72-years-old female running mate as too old and implying her inability to perform her responsibility, only exposes his long-held hatred and disregard for women, unquote. Quote again, it is important to warn Agyeman King that he comes nowhere close to the enviable track record of the professor. He, Agyeman, has not served close to a quarter of the professor's public service time, and yet the list of scandal and immoral issues surrounding his name keeps increasing. We are reminding him that we have not forgotten the alleged ADB scandal, where he was heard in a voice recording demanding a bribe of 1 million Ghana cedis in order to play a legal gymnastic in court in order to have a case he was handling thrown out. He had earlier admitted in the same audio, and he had already accepted 250,000 Ghana cedis. We have not also forgotten his shameful support for LGBTQ+, the role he played in blocking the anti-LGBT plus, goes on and on and on and on. Statement was released on the 13th of March 2024, which was yesterday. And the full text is here. So for those of you who may want to apprise yourself with the full facts, you may want to purchase the Insight newspaper for today and read the story. But Honorable, let me start with you. I've seen shall I say maybe like a response that has been written by somebody. I read it yesterday. It's quite interesting, but clearly people are unhappy with Agyeman's tantrums on the floor of Parliament, particularly when, in the estimation of many, I mean, Parliament is for serious business and not for, quote, dishonorable comments.
Let me start by saying that the statements made by Agyeman in Parliament when he was offering his closing or delivering his closing remarks to the speech delivered by His Excellency the President on the State of the Nation has been roundly and soundly condemned by all right-thinking persons in society. It was uncalled for. It was needless. It shows gross disrespect to the person of Professor Jane Nana Agyeman. It also was discriminatory, to say the least. I mean, and I was quite disappointed when Agyeman, as majority leader of the MPP in Parliament and a legal practitioner, a lawyer, can flagrantly disregard Article 17 of the Constitution and utter those words in Parliament. You can't pretend to be the paragon of virtue and practice vice. In that contribution and statement he was making in Parliament, he was praising the achievements of an 80-year-old man. And I ask simply, so what is the difference between an 80-year-old man and an 80-year-old woman? What's the difference? One is male and the other is female, simple. But they have the same brain, they have the same years, they clock the same years on this earth. So what makes Agyeman think that an 80-year-old man is otherwise qualified to rule a country of 32 or 35 million people, and a 70-year-old lady cannot partner His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to win elections? What makes him think that way? That can only come from a jaundiced mind of a person who is not by any list of imagination qualified to be a minority leader or a majority leader in the Parliament of Ghana. And I'm deeply worried that these are the same tactics, these are the tactics that this person, Agyeman, use to upstage Adwoa Safo to become deputy majority leader, and use the same tactics to upstage J. Mensah Bonsu, because he plays to the gallery and spews forth words, make statements in Parliament that, to say the least, can be very embarrassing to this country. Now, what taking shades on Nana, Professor Jane Nana Agyeman, how did he contribute to the SONA address? How relevant was that to the SONA address? And that was for a majority leader. 2, this is a woman who has achieved so much in her 70-year life. So much that even the current president cannot boast to have achieved that. But I was otherwise qualified to be the president of this country. She went to school in this country. At a very young age, she was the senior girls prefect of a school. She became the first vice chancellor, female vice chancellor of a major university in this country. I was even privileged. At the time I was on the UN Secretariat, Ghana's UN Secretariat, the board of the Ghana UN Secretariat. Jane Nana Agyeman was also on that board. And while in Paris, she was elected to serve on the UN board for education. While in Paris with her. This is a woman whose contribution to the development of mankind and training of the young in society has been applauded and appreciated worldwide. In fact, because she broke the ice ceiling, today many women are vice chancellors of universities. But she broke the ice ceiling. What will agitate the mind of a member of parliament to cast aspersions on such a person? I mean, sometimes you cringe when young people like Agyeman decide not to respect the elderly who have achieved in society. Because you're a member of parliament. You've been the deputy majority leader. You are majority leader. You will grow and grow old. So those who come after you should not respect you. Is that what he's suggesting? That and throw all your achievements to the dustbin on the altar of political expediency. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame. But we are very confident as a party in Professor Nana Jane Agyeman. We believe that she will assist when the NDC is elected into office, John Dramani Mahama, to meet the legitimate and reasonable expectations of this country. She has tremendous experience, and NDC is striving to create an inclusive government. In this country, the women are more than the men. So it's important that their voice is heard in government at the highest level. And that is why Jane Nana Agyeman holds significant and tremendous significance to the women folk of this country. They can believe that this is their own who will speak for them. And I allowed the alliance of feminist NGOs, because this bastardization, this looking down on the other sex, how do you hope to develop as a country? Plato said that many years ago. How do you hope to develop as a country when you look down, when you castigate, when you exclude one half of your population? You are just simply depriving yourself and looking down on a group within the population that can contribute, and that does contribute to the development of this country. And for a politician to ignore that fact, that women are critical to the development of our country. Indeed, I should say that as we continue to develop the country, and I've heard many feminists say that we need to give women an opportunity, because we are in this bad situation because we've elected an 80-year-old man. So if we do elect an 80-year-old woman, will that make a difference? Because we're not giving them the opportunity to demonstrate what they can offer to our country. We've not given women that opportunity. And all the problems that we are facing are proper, in quotes, man-made problems in this country. They are man-made problems. Because we, the men, have arrogated to ourselves the wisdom to rule the country. And we've never excluded a woman. So let's hope that as we develop as a country, we give women an opportunity at the highest level of governance to demonstrate what they can contribute to this country.
This botched narrative by the majority leader not have emanated from perhaps a plan that is hatched for the purposes of political expediency, particularly because we are in,
I've heard such conspiracy theories. I've heard that out of the abundance of the mouth speakers. I've heard. And that probably, since the selection of Nana Agyeman, there have been new dynamics, implementations in the camp of the MPP in trying to move. And I don't know how far true that is, but I've heard that. Because there is evidence, and I've always had discussions with my brother Kosi Pratt, and even you. As a political observer, I see Nana Agyeman as a formidable force, not only in the central region, but in the whole of the country. She's so formidable that her partnership with John Dramani Mahama in 2020 gave NDC, for the first time in our history, more than 6 million votes. For the first time, it had never happened. That we recorded 6 million votes. And we came down from a deficit of 106 seats in parliament to share the seats with the MPP in parliament. We also rose from minority members of parliament in the central region to majority members of parliament. So clearly, if you look at all that she brought, you cannot dismiss her. And so, if there are conspiracy theories, it's precisely because the MPP knows what Nana Agyeman represents. But for me, it's just the consistency of thought and practice by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama that has excited me. And like I said on this platform, unless there were compelling reasons to drop Nana Agyeman, one could not have substituted her for any other person because of her contribution to the fortunes of this party.
Well, beautifully and subsequently put. Elvis, is there an attempt by a party to malign and excoriate the prof so that you can
I don't know, because my party didn't speak on this matter. The majority leader of parliament did. And the last time I checked, the majority leader...
It's not the party.
Agyeman Martins is not the NPP. However, given his very instrumental position in the party and in the affairs of the party's parliamentary caucus, it will be very unwise, maybe completely silly, to attempt to divorce his actions and inactions, from the morality or the moral stance of the party itself holistically. We grew up, I am just 33 years, hoping to be 34 with you on 23rd of March.
I'm older than you. You mean we share the same birthday, but I'm far older than you. So since that.
Oh, that's not in dispute.
So
I'm at the advantage.
So count it well.
My uncle will tell you that in our tradition, the younger brother is entitled to the wife of the senior brother upon his demise.
So you want me to die?
No, I just say that you can guess. is just to draw your attention to fundamental principles of nature and where your fate will be. And you see, by dint of the sociology within which we find ourselves, across all ethnic divides in this country, there is respect for the aged. So much respect and honor for the aged.
True.
Across all, it is one of the areas of cultural homogeneity we have in our state.
Yeah. When I come,
and
he comes, I have to get up.
And it is on the basis of this socialization that when I'm even here, I refer to the two men who have sandwiched me as fathers. In the list of description, I call them uncles, if you have observed. Since 2018 till date, where did I get that from? It is because of the kind of cultural upbringing an average Ghanaian will have. And that culture sits well even with not only biblical principles, but the general theology of religion. That longevity of age and life is an honor unto them to whom God has favored. For which reason, your ascendancy to longevity starts its count from your admiration, service, respect, and honor to people of a certain age category. If Agyeman Markins, one of my most respected friends in the leadership of the party, will listen to me this morning, or any lover of his is hearing me, should know that his joke was an extremely expensive joke to himself and not to Professor Jenano Pokwajina. You see, but I can understand why. The NPP is a capitalist-oriented political organization. And any political party that is situated within that context is likely going to raise puppets on the strings of power brokers, individual private men who are brokering power with the aim to translating that power to the controlling of what? Fundamental economic dimensions of the state: production, distribution. Are you getting it? In particular, and even exchange. So at some point, you must go off the trajectory of integrity to satisfy the headless characters who are shadow to the public, to whose puppets you are a string. To whose strings you are a puppet, let me put it that way. So I suspect that as intelligent as Honorable Agyeman Markins is, he could have done a more better politicking than predicating it on the basis of age. Now get it clear here. Get something clear here. In any event, do we have constitutional limitations to who becomes a presidential or vice presidential material in this country? We only have the lower limit. But if at 100 Ghanaians think they can repose trust in you, so be it. Now, the hypocrisy is that, how old is Jane today? Professor Jane is 72 years old as we talk. 72, according to her public profile. She's 72 and will be 73 actually by November this year. At what age did Nana Akufo-Addo become president of the Republic of Ghana? Give me 5 minutes to do this analysis. Nana Addo was born in 1944. He became a president in 2016 at the age of 72. You see, wisdom comes from above. Your party had someone become president at 72. You are worried about another party having someone becoming a possible vice president at the same age. What's the logic? It can only amount to the silly application of common sense. When you are too quick to want to ridicule people before a few, you may be ridiculing yourself to the masses. In any event, statistically and politically, the NPP is worried about Agyeman Agyeman. It is why this kind of attacks on her person and reputation have started. The same modus operandi that was deployed in making everyone who doesn't know Mahama see him in bad light is what is at play. I've been telling you that my problem with the NDC is that the NDC is just an unwise and an unstrategic party. They don't analyze these things from a critical perspective. And it is why, in spite of all these things, they are losing the next election if they are not careful, with the greatest respect, uncle. But I think that you people are not critically engaging in analysis. Let us go back to why the NPP should be worried and remains to be worried about Jane. Let me call my mother by that name today. In the 2016 election, who was the running mate to?
Yeah. No,
in 2016. It was Emisata. In 2016, the NDC made 42% of total presidential votes in the central region. And the NPP made 53.7, if I remember my operational statistics. May the soul of Mr. Atta rest in peace. Upon his demise, when same position was given to Professor Agyeman Agyeman from the same central region in 2020, do you know what happened? The NDC shot up, not only in parliamentary seats, but shot up from 42% of presidential votes to 45% of presidential votes. You know what 3% means in elections in this country? When you need 50 plus just one vote to be president. Now, the statistics have a base. The fundamental denominator being the same old Mr. John Dramani Mahama.
Yeah.
So you can only reasonably affiliate, not marginal, but the exponential rise in the percentage to the choice of the vice.
Yeah.
No, that's.
There's no argument.
That's
Are you getting it? I'm not going to even sacrifice my educational and intellectual integrity on cheap politics. It is why I'm making this analysis to you. On factual grounds of the figures, my respected vice president, my uncle Mr. Bomia, will say that, look, the science and the data. So we are interrogating the science and the data of it. In 2020, that was what happened. Given the current economic situation and the litany of failed promises to the people of Central Region by my government, you can only expect that figure
will increase.
There will be further attrition in the presidential margins of the NPP's presidential candidate, especially at the time of flag bearer have no, let me say, close sociological roots to the Central Region, as maybe Nana Akufo-Addo would have given the broader Akan category. Like it or hate it, these things are fundamental political indicators to deciding victory. In any event, I thought that ascendancy to high offices in this country should be predicated on integrity. Nothing but what? Integrity. A leader can be made of all staff. In the absence of integrity, the nation is holding on to the last straws. Given that context, I like to zoom into some analysis. Integrity checks with the respected professor. And this is a woman we've already been told what she is made of. But do you know, and I'm concluding in a minute on that basis, do you know that apart from her academic credentials, she has had up to about 4 honorary doctors of letters, not only from Ghana. The first was from UCC. You can pardon that maybe because she has served there as vice president, but she had the same honorary doctors of, humane letters from where? From the Grand Valley State University in Michigan. had one at the Winston Salem State in North Carolina. Had a honorary doctors of laws from the universities of West Indies. Now, for some education, as I conclude, a doctor of humane letters is not just any ordinary honorary PhD. It is one advance to people who have contributed in compassion, in tolerance, in integrity towards the development of mankind. If you have such a woman and you think you ridicule him on the floor of parliament, a legislative house, then there's something fundamentally wrong. If he's bringing these virtues on board, that is a strategic thing to neutralize all the negative things we have associated with Muhammad. That's very strategic, and we should be worried that in spite of whom we have known the NDC's flag bearer to be, the same old Muhammad, and unfortunately they didn't put him in new bottle, they have actually put him in the same old bottle. We should, however, be worried about whom the running mate is. I'll rest my advice here.
What can I say? Mr. Pratt, please.
Well, I think it's a very simple matter. If you're able to eulogize an 80-year-old leader who is male and condemn a 70-year-old deputy leader on account of age, it is clear that your bias is against women. And I think it's most unfortunate in this era of enlightenment, in this era where we all claim to be, advancing the cause of gender equality. And this is perhaps why women's organizations across the country and beyond are very, very angry at the remarks made by Honorable Afenyo Makin. Because clearly it is biased against women. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. My producer tells me my time is up because there's another production after this. I'm so pained. Unfortunately, I cannot, with a great of respect, just for today. I hope I'm pardoned, Honorable.
TikTok will not happen.
That is the problem. But thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you, Honorable, for your time this morning. I apologize to you and the viewers that we may not extend to 10 o'clock by reason of the fact that we have a production immediately. So keep watching Pan-African Television. My name is Kwame Usudan. So producers, I need snippets of the analysis made by Honorable Linus Afuseni, Elvis Buta, and Mr. Pratt in respect of Afenyo Makin's matter, and I need it ASAP. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.